Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Dana.
Hi,
Good
Jenna.
morning.
How are you?
It's almost lunch here, but I think it's still pretty early on your side of the world.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. I am in Las Vegas, and I'm here with my friend Kyle. I'm going to actually go ahead and push in the slide deck. Welcome to Canvas 101. We are going to work on a presentation to teach us the basics of slide deck, or I'm sorry, Canvas. This is for beginners. This is as if your district just announced last week you are going to be learning Canvas and you don't have any of the tools you need. We're going to give you some of the basics. And the reason why Kyle is on today is Kyle is a Canvas controller for his school. He actually created the slide deck we're using today. Us presenters, we tend to steal things from other people. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to show Kyle's slide. Oh, first we're going to introduce ourselves. Jenna, introduce yourself.
I'm Jenna Ashley. I'm an instructional technology specialist for Old Dominion University out here in Virginia. I also used to teach middle and high school math.
And I am Dana Cooney. I am a computer science teacher in Las Vegas, Nevada. I love using Canvas. I just started using Canvas last year, but I really took it under my wing and made it my thing. So I hope I can provide some good stuff for you guys today. Kyle?
Good morning. It is early for us. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock. I'm in Las Vegas with Dana as well. So my name is Kyle Anderson. I'm a special education teacher in Las Vegas, and I did create the slide deck. I've been using Canvas for about a year. I trained on it about 5 or 6 years ago, but I never got into it at the time because I was using Google Classroom, and Google Classroom was working for me. But as Dana can attest, our district required Canvas starting last year, and actually we don't have access to Google Classroom anymore. So we are quote unquote stuck with Canvas. So, but no, it's a great tool. So I was very happy to put these together and let Dana steal them. So, but I am also an author. I write a blog, andersonedtech.net, and then I wrote a book called To the Edge: Successes and Failures Through Risk Taking. That's available on Amazon. You can find me on Twitter at andersonedtech, and the same thing with Instagram.
Excellent. And I hear that you like beer. Is this true?
I do. I am a fan of beer. So a friend of mine and I have taken that love of beer and turned it into an education podcast called the Beer EDU podcast, where he and I have conversations with people from all over the world about passions that they have in education, and we drink beer while we do it, and we have a lot of fun. It's kind of like those conversations you have with people on a Friday afternoon at the bar when you swear you're not going to talk about work, but you do anyway. So,
Totally.
And then I have another
I'm not
podcast
the only
called
one.
No, you're not the only one. So, and I also am the co-host of another show called The Podcast by the Sons of Technology, where we focus strictly on educational technology on that show.
Awesome. Well, I know you can't stick around with us for the whole time today, but I was hoping you could help us with a couple of our first slides here. Could you give us an overview of what Canvas actually is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Canvas, if you are brand new to it, this is going to be your learning management system, or it's a lot easier to say LMS. So in education, we are all about acronyms and shortening things up. So if you've ever heard LMS, that is what that means. That is learning management system. So now this is something Dana and we started using last year virtually, but it is something that we are now using in person. So you can use it for both of them. Lots of tools for building your content, creating lessons, what are called modules in Canvas. It can be used for grading. Our district has it paired up with our student information system, so where grades in Canvas get kicked automatically to our student information system, so we don't have to do any extra work or double grade book like some people end up having to do.
We call that passback, right?
It is called grade passback when those two systems talk to one another. And then activities you build in Canvas can be automatically graded using Speed Grader as well. So there's all sorts of cool stuff in that regard. And then it's a great communication tool. It integrates with a variety of third-party tools. So Microsoft, if you're in a Microsoft district, works very well with that. Dana and I are in a Google district, so it works very well with that. And then there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of third-party tools that you can connect in Canvas and use the LMS with. So it is a great tool.
And Jen, I have a question for you. So before Canvas, we used Google Classroom. What advantages are there to using Canvas over Google Classroom? And what's the difference between Google Classroom and Canvas?
So Google Classroom will let you push assignments to students and you can grade with it. And I know some folks have integrated it with that pass back, but it's much more robust in that I can do everything in Canvas and not have to go here for one piece and here for another. And those integrations that you were talking about mean that my students don't have to have multiple logins for things. They don't have to go elsewhere. I can pretty much embed almost anything right in my Canvas class and not have to worry about my kids getting lost.
We do have a request in the chat to share the slide deck, and we will share that, but we don't tend to share it till the end. And the reason why is if we get a ton of people on it, it tends to bog down. So we will share a bunch of stuff. You will get many takeaways today, including we have some templates for you, and we're going to import some courses from the Commons to get you started. Kyle's got some kids in the background. I hear them. Kyle, I got you on mute. We're going to say goodbye to Kyle with this next slide. I love how he put this one in there. This is totally how Canvas made me feel when we first started having to use it.
My old district, we got less than a week's warning that we were going to be switching and that it would be mandatory. And when I tell you, everybody lost their minds, but we got through it. It's okay. It'll be totally fine.
All right, Kyle. Well, thank you so much for coming. And do you have any parting words for us?
No, I hope everybody learns a little bit this morning and eases a little bit of that tension if you're feeling that with Canvas. And then I know that next week will be kind of the follow-up as well. And as much as I like everything that was in this intro one here, there's some tools that I put into the one for next week that we'll be doing that are really exciting. The embed everything that Jenna said, there's some tools that allow you to literally embed everything. And I'm excited, not just for you to learn about this stuff today, but next week as well.
Yeah, but I will tell you, next week there is quite a big jump. You really went from beginner tools to advanced tools. Me and Jenna mixed it up a little bit. We did our own little remix, but yeah, we'll give you a week to get the basics, and then we jump into the good stuff next week.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on, and have a good rest of your weekend, everybody. And maybe we'll see you next week too.
All right. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right. So we got to plug this. Jenna, why don't you tell them about Panda Pros?
So Panda Pros are certified Canvas educators. They are people that have been through the special training. They have all of the lovely endorsements. But right now, Canvas is giving away free 25-minute sessions with Panda Pros. Doesn't cost you anything. But the one thing you absolutely need to know is that 25 minutes goes incredibly quick. So go in, when you plan around in your sandbox, make a list of all your questions, and then set up your time with your Panda Pro so that you can make sure you get everything you need out of it and that you're not losing the benefit of all that time. And when you do get the slides, when you click on the word Panda Pro here, it'll take you right to the page to help you set that appointment up.
Yep. So we will provide these as soon as we're done today. But I'm totally gonna do this because I'm creating some stuff right now. And even if you feel like you are a Canvas expert, there's always more to learn. So you could take something you thought you've completed and go over it with a Panda Pro, and they can give you a bunch of suggestions to make it better, to make it easier for your students. They can check things like, is your Canvas ADA approved? And those are all things. We're mostly going to go over those things next week. And I think we even have an advanced session coming up after me and Jenna's 2-week sessions. We have another expert. We actually have a Panda Pro that's going to follow up. Andrea Earl is going to do a couple more sessions on Canvas, but she's a Panda Pro. So she's not going to be for the beginners. She's going to be for those people who already have a Canvas shell set up, already have a class set up, and really want to make it dynamic. All right, so what are we going to be learning today? Oh, by the way, we are doing a Canvas training today. It is going to be best if you have a Canvas account. So you can use your school account, or if you don't have a school account yet, you can actually create a free educators account at this link right here. It's at, actually, I'll drop it in the chat. Let's see if we can go grab it. Do you have it, Jenna?
I do. It's k12.instructure.com.
Perfect. You're typing over there so much better than I am. Excellent.
And what that'll do is some districts have the ability to create a sandbox, or they've given you a sandbox, and it's all going to come down to what kind of access you have. So if you have a sandbox, or if you have the ability to create courses where you create a sandbox course in your Canvas account right now, that's great. If you don't, for example, in my old district, we were not allowed to. That access was turned off for us. You can create a free account on the teacher website, the K-12 Instructure site, and it will be completely separate and apart from your district stuff. It won't link. You don't have to use your school account to create it. You can use a personal email. Nobody ever has to see it but you. But the nice thing is, and we're going to talk about this later, with the Commons, you can get things to your school account. If you get in there and you get it every bit perfect and you're like, I don't want to do this again, we're going to show you how to make sure you get from one spot to the other if you need to do that.
And anything you make inside your school account may be owned by your school or district. Whereas when I'm working on my own time, I always create in my personal account because I want to own that stuff. That stuff is mine. I did it on my own time. And oftentimes doing things like this leads to great part-time gigs and a little extra inflow when you can start creating those courses for other people to use. So just something to keep in mind. So what are we learning today?
Oh, so very much. Now, there's one thing we want you to know as you look at this lovely table of contents, because it looks like it's a lot. We want you to think of this slide deck as a resource, not something you have to, watch along with, because here in a minute, we're going to put the slides away and that'll be it. And we're going to be showing you everything live. So please think of it as a resource.
Let's say we start telling them what a module is, and you're like, I don't exactly remember what that is. There's going to be a video in this deck so that you guys can go back and watch the video about what is a module, or you don't remember how to create an assignment. Those resources are going to be in here for you guys to go back to. Well, are we ready to go to Canvas?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So when you first log into Canvas, you are going to be brought to a page called the dashboard. On the dashboard, what you're going to see is class cards, or sometimes people call them class shells. There's two types of class cards. There's published cards and there's unpublished cards. Unpublished cards are cards that you are working on, but your students can't see yet because they're not published. Published cards are cards that any students in the class can already see. So we're going to be working on a new card today, and we're actually going to publish it. And we're going to publish it, and then we're going to show you what it looks like from a student's point of view. But before we jump into courses, we actually want to spend just a little time on this bar over here. This bar over here is called Global Navigation. It navigates everything in your Canvas account. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to account. That's the one with the word account, and it's got a round circle, and it might have your picture in it, or it might have something else. But we're going to go to account and we're going to look at notifications. Now, inside notifications, you might have one or two columns. I have one just for my email. My email is where I signed up for my Canvas account. However, they've got an outstanding app that if you sync your app to this, you'll have two columns. You'll have one for email notifications and one for push notifications on your phone. Now, understanding notifications is really important because if you're not careful, you're going to get a million emails a day. And I don't need all those emails. So you're going to want to go through these and figure out which ones are priorities for you and which ones are priorities for your students. For example, due dates. As the teacher, I don't ever need to know about the due dates because I made them in the first place. But my students might want to turn on email notifications maybe once per day to make sure every assignment that is due is going to be listed for them. So in that case, they might turn it on daily. For the teacher, I'm going to make sure notifications are off. Jenna, what's another one that you always have on?
For me, it's I think it might be down a little further, but if I had announcements on because I had a co-teacher. So if they made an announcement, I wanted to know it. That way if I, wasn't feeling well and needed to be out, they could post an announcement for me and I could keep track of what they had told the students. So I knew what they were responsible for. But I never turn on late grading.
Oh, no, never. Me, I
No.
don't either. I also beg my students to keep announcements on an email because now we're in school. Last year we were out of school. We were teaching completely online, but this year we're in school. So if I post an announcement, it's probably going to be something along the lines of it's 6:45 a.m. Miss Cooney sends an announcement. Hey, I'm going to be out today. I'm feeling not well. You have a sub, but your sub has no idea what they're doing. Please proceed to go ahead and do this. So I always beg my students to have that one on.
Now, the important thing to remember is you as a teacher do not set the notifications for your students. They have to set their own notifications. So if you're teaching kindergartners all the way up to 12th graders or in higher ed, it does not matter. They as a student are responsible for their individual notifications. You can have a good talk with them about what, smart choices are, like we are here, but also at the end of the day, they're responsible for it.
And I just want to make a note, when it says conversations here, this one is actually your inbox. Students, through this item right here, have the ability to send you messages in the inbox. And I love that because not only do I love that, but Canvas records all that data. So if you've had so many contacts with your students, you have a list of contacts. And I believe, Jenna, could you help me out with this? I believe if parents have observer accounts, they can see those messages too. Is that true?
I believe so.
Okay, so we're going to have to poke a little stick at that one later to verify. But this one for me is really important that I keep on because I only go to Canvas during the day. After I leave school, I don't really log on to Canvas, but sometimes students really need to get a hold of you, and it can always wait to the morning usually. But if I have this one on and somebody sends me an inbox message, I get an email to my school Gmail account. I can actually answer that student by replying to that email, and I don't even have to go back into Canvas. So I like to make sure that one is on. So I think that's pretty much done with notifications. So we're going to go back to account, and we just wanted to hit a couple things in profile, did we not?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we can always edit our photo. You can upload a photo. You can take a photo from your computer, or you can choose a gravatar. And that's a gravatar. That's what I picked. I like my students to do something like that. And then we edit the profile over here. And you can edit your name and your biography, and you can make this a whole profile thing. What was the one we were going to
I will say certain districts have this set up slightly different. Like some of them, you won't be able to edit your name. Some may or may not have pronouns turned on. So this screen may look slightly different depending on your district individually. But the basic premise of it is always the same. They're going to have that edit profile button. You can change a picture. I've had districts where you couldn't change the picture. It does help you build that relationship. It gives students a face, especially if you're virtual, where they may, relate to you a little better.
And then the last one we were going to hit inside of a setting, or was settings inside of account. One of the most important things is your time zone. And your district should have this set for you, but it's always a good thing to double check. So we can go over here to edit settings and make sure you're in your correct time zone. What's going to happen if you're not in your correct time zone is you're going to pick due dates and they're not going to correlate with your students' sense of time. So you're going to say the assignment's due at 9 p.m. and they're going to go turn it in at 9 p.m. and it says it's past due anyway. So you got to make sure the time setting is correct.
It's a weird little thing to catch you.
Yep. Let's go ahead and head back to courses. When I click courses, I'm going to see some of my courses. And if you saw this in my school account, I have tons of courses. Well, if you have tons of courses, you might not find the course you're looking for. So Jenna, can you take us through what to do?
So if you have a lot, when you push out that courses menu, all the way down at the bottom there, you've got all courses. And if I click on that, it'll show me everything that I have any access to, whether I'm a teacher, whether I'm a student. Say your district pushes out a training course that they want you to complete in Canvas. If you have observer access, anything like that. And then I can push the little star icon over there at the left for courses that I want to appear first. So say they've got all my courses for the year loaded in Canvas, and that's great, but I don't want to deal with my second semester courses right now because it's September and I'm going to get overwhelmed. And I can star them, and that way they show up first. And then depending on your district, you may have the past enrollments at the bottom. So if you need to steal something out of an old course, I really like how I set this other piece up. You can go back into it and steal it from down there.
Now, right now, I'm actually going to go to my school account. I try not to use my school account for presentations, but my school account has something that you might have that I don't have in this course. So I'm going to navigate over to my school account. If I go to courses, now you can see an example of having a lot of courses. So I'm going to go to all courses. And over in the top right corner, this is the button. This is create a sandbox. And Jenna, I want to explain what that is.
So a sandbox is like your safe place. You can do whatever you want in there. It's in no way connected to anything else. It's not going to be connected to a grade book. It's not going to be connected to a class. There's no students in it. It's just you figuring all of this out. Getting it set up how you want, getting it to look like you want, whatever. Now, the only thing you got to remember is, like I said before, some districts do not have create a sandbox enabled. If that's the case, I totally recommend going to that K-12 instructor site, creating that free basic teacher account and using that, because that's not connected to anything. It won't matter. So like if I go into it from my K-12 instructor site, when I go to my courses page, I don't have that. I have nothing up in that corner, but I have the ability to create as many courses as I want because they're not connected to anything.
A couple warnings on the sandbox. First of all, in my district, you can only make one per day. The other warning is you can't get rid of them. You have to actually go to a campus controller to get rid of the sandboxes. So you don't want to make 25 sandboxes because they're just going to be a bunch of sandboxes there. I like to have like 3 sandboxes. And when I'm done, I just clear them out and make a new one. And then I clear it out and make a new one. So just don't go crazy making sandboxes because you're going to have to ask a campus controller to get rid of them if you don't like them anymore. All right, so this is the point where this is actually an action step. If you are in a district that uses sandboxes and you want to try some of the stuff we are doing today, you can go ahead and create that sandbox now, give it a name, and it will pop up. And I'm going to head back to my personal account, and you're going to see in my personal account, I do not have the access to create a sandbox. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to dashboard. Once I'm in dashboard, I have the options to start a new course. Now, me and Jenna have been planning this, so I already have the courses ready to go, so I don't need to do anything. I'm going to be working on course 2 today. So we're going to go ahead in course 2, and we're clicking in it. Now, there's nothing in this course. This is an absolutely blank class, but now we have a new menu, and this menu is called course navigation. If you'll remember, this one is called global navigation because it accesses everything from your account. And then this one is called course navigation. I apologize. We're not going to do much, but I do want to head down to settings, which is on the very bottom, just to highlight a couple really important things. Inside course settings, you have all these different tabs. There's a lot of things you can do in course settings, but I don't want to overwhelm you today. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to change the name. I have that privilege because it is my class on my personal Canvas. You can, however, change the image, and this one's usually pretty fun. I either upload a picture from my computer or I go to Unsplash, which is a Creative Commons license for pictures and other things that are free to use where you don't have to worry about copyright. So I'm going to say computer. I'm a computer science teacher. Well, this is a cute one, so I'll go ahead and select this one. And now my course has a picture, and this is the picture that all my students will see when I go into my course. So I think that one's pretty important. Now, another thing you can do is you can create a Google slide with maybe something a little more personal about your course, and then people could see that. That's always a good idea too. And then just like we checked the time zone in global navigation, we have to check the time zone in the course navigation also. If those are off, you're going to have problems with your due dates. Students also have the ability to check the time zone, so make sure that their time zone is correct also. And the reason for that is students could be living in a different time zone than the teacher is, and so you might need different time zones. In the case of our district, I hope that's not true.
But say if we were collaborating, because I'm Eastern and you're Pacific, if I set an assignment to be due in this course that we've got, it's going to be, if I set it to 12 o'clock, well, by the time 12 o'clock rolls around where you are on the other side of the country, it's late. And if you have it's a late assignment. And if you have point deductions for late assignments, it's going to automatically apply those. So that's why it sounds silly. Of course, my kids are in the same time zone as me. With virtual, are they though? Because I've seen kids be in whole other states in the last year. And if you're in higher education too, it's really important because your kids I've seen kids be in whole other countries with higher ed. So
I just look at all these settings and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much I want to teach, but we're going to take it slow. The other thing I am going to hit in here, if we go to navigation, these are all the options your student can see in their course navigation. Too many things can be overwhelming, and you don't want your students getting confused. So what I do is I come down to the bottom, and if you take the three dots and actually, what happened? And actually pull it. I don't know what happened there. There we go. And pull it below the line. Anything pulled below the line, the students won't actually be able to see.
I'll tell you one I always hide in my I had to explain this to some folks at my old school. I hide the assignments tab from my kids. And here's why. I want them to work through the module step by step like I've designed it. I don't want them going in trying to get the assignment done and having no idea at the lesson because they just wanted to get it done. I loved my kids. They do it. We all know they do it. Let's not lie about it. They would go into assignments. They would just do all of the things, not do well, and ta-da, problem solved in their eyes. But then wonder why their grade was poor. So hiding those kinds of things sounds really bad, but I promise there are reasons for it. Same with quizzes. We don't want them going in and just taking quizzes willy-nilly. Discussions I might leave depending on the course. It all depends on what you're teaching.
Totally. So these are the 5 that I use. Home, syllabus is where I put my course expectations, announcements, modules, and I do let them see their grades, but there's philosophies for not letting them see their grades, which it might be up to you. So you're going to see later when we go into student view, these are the only 5 things students can see, but you do have to remember to scroll all the way to the bottom and hit save. How many times have you clicked out of this page without hitting save, Jenna?
and then wondered, why are all of the things still there? Like, it's, oh my gosh.
It
But you'll
happens.
notice
Yeah.
now next to all of those things that she hid, there's a little eye with a slash through it. That means I can still see it, but the students can't.
So I
I
don't get
don't
it
hide
though.
anything from my
What
view.
about modules? Okay, so we have the eye with the slashy, so my students can't see it right now, even though
What's it
I
say
have
when you
it
point
shown.
to it?
No content. Oh, it's because I haven't created a module yet.
There's
Okay.
nothing for them to see.
All right. So we're actually going to go home. Now in Canvas, you can set a home page. I don't know if you guys remember last year, the big craze with Bitmoji homepages. Oh my gosh, I love Bitmoji homepages. We're not even going to get to that today because, well, I love Bitmoji homepages and I think they're so special and they help our kids make connections. It's not the most important thing when it comes to Canvas. I believe, and I don't know if you agree with me, Jenna, the most important thing is Canvas is to get the content on there in a way the students can understand it.
And in a way that's accessible. And as cute as those Bitmoji things are, they are so very inaccessible to students with low vision or who use screen readers or students with disabilities.
They are not ADA
We love the
compliant.
cute. We all love the cute. But keep that in mind. They don't work. If you want kids to be able to click on items in a slide like that, it's not accessible to all students. So do keep that in the back of your mind.
So right now we have a blank page. We have nothing planned. Planning a Canvas course doesn't actually start on the screen. It starts on the notebook paper. What I would suggest, and I'm sure Jen agrees with me, before you start a course, you sit down maybe with the people you're PLCing with fellow teachers, and you say, what are the important things in this course? Are we going to organize our course in units? Are we going to organize it in weeks? Does each of those units have 5 lessons? Does it have 6 lessons? Do each of those lessons have some learning and then an assignment? And we think about all that stuff and we mind map it and we draw it out. And once we have a plan, that's when we get started. Now, ideally, we would have the whole semester mapped out completely before we started. But last year, we were told 2 weeks before we started that we were going to have to use Canvas, and we didn't even know what Canvas was. So that was a pipe dream. That was not possible. We just needed to save ourselves and get something.
We were building the plane as we were flying it.
We were building, and I think we still are in some cases. So if you are in that position, my suggestion to you would to be build modules week by week. Can you figure out what you're doing from Monday to Friday? If that's true, then the weekly module is probably a good thing to choose.
And it's more what we're used to as teachers, having written a lesson plan for a week at a time. That's more what we're used to. Now, if you're a person who uses a grid and you have that planned out, go for it. You can do it the same way. But this is more, if you're just jumping into this, this is a great place to start.
This is a great survival method.
Yes.
So we're going to be learning a lot of things. We're learning about pages and assignments and discussions, but I suggest we start in the page called modules. So modules should be checked. In this case, my home and my modules are the same because I have modules set at home, but we have nothing in here. So we're going to create a new module, but now's probably a good time to tell you what a module actually is. Jenna, what is a module?
It's basically just a giant file folder, people. It's people can use it for, you can put your day headers in it, but it's basically just a giant folder.
So I'm going to go
all
through
of the things I want to do this week.
Jenna's going to kind of talk you through what I'm doing.
I'm going to add a module. Now, you may not always see that little, I call it a Cyberman. I'm sorry, I'm a Doctor Who nerd. But if you don't see that little Cyberman head, you can click that blue add module in the top right corner. And I'm just going to name it. Now, I like the lock until. I have some high achievers who want to start looking at things early. I tend to lock my modules until Sunday night or Monday morning just to keep my kiddos out of them. But then I'm just going to add a module once I'm done. I can give it a date and a time. You know, say Sunday night, so it'd be the 15th. and,
What time?
5 p.m. because I don't want them peeking ahead and seeing what we're doing until Sunday night. Okay, and I'm just going to hit that blue add modules button.
I'm actually going to uncheck this though, Jenna, because later we have to do student view.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a
and
folder.
I've got my folder.
Is there anything in my folder?
Nope.
Nope.
It's all empty and sad. So I can start adding pieces to it. I know I'm going to set up my module by weeks. So I'm going to start by putting in some text headers. So I click that plus sign at the right, and I'm just going to change it to text header. And I'm going to put Monday. And I don't indent my days. That way my kids can see all the way down the left side. It literally, if you indent pages, it just comes out looking like an outline. But it does help students see what's under a certain thing. And we're just going to repeat that process to do.
You can, by the way, if you choose later to indent or unindent, you can do it right over in the 3 dots. Okay, so is there anything in Monday right now?
It's just another empty folder in there.
Okay.
So I'm going to repeat it, and we're going to do Tuesday through Friday. And all I'm doing is the same process each time. On that week 1 text header, I'm hitting the plus, and I'm adding in a page for each of these. There's not going to be anything in these. They are just, think of it like the little tab on the file folder. Okay, it tells my students where to look. But say I know what things I want to do this week. So Monday, I want to give my students some instructions. They need to know where to start for the week. So I'm going to go to that plus, and I'm going to add in a page. And a page is exactly what it sounds like. It's information. The students can't do anything with it but read it. If I give them links to something else, it'll take them to something else. But otherwise, it is just one-way information. Okay, so I'm going to hit create page, and it's going to give me an opportunity to name it. And I'm just going to call it Monday lesson. Okay, now if I know I'm going to put it under Monday, I usually indent it 1 level so that my students know, hey, this falls under Monday. And I hit that blue add item button. But it's under Friday, so I'm going to drag it with those little dots up and put it under Monday. That's the one really nice thing about Canvas is it's very user-friendly. A lot of drag and drop works just like you would expect it to. You can reorder things. You can put things where you want them. You can do it however you need it to make your students work. If you get everything where you like it and then realize you need to move it back a day because the weather, you can just slide the text header up above it and make it Tuesday. We've had a few of those lately.
There's nothing in this page so far. Everything's blank. Right now, we're just working on the shape of our week. So I think after a lesson, I probably want an assignment. Don't you think we want an assignment?
I need to see what they got out of it. So I'm going to go back to my plus. And I'm going to add an assignment this time. Okay. Now, you'll see here that you've got some categories. We're going to talk about those in a little bit. For right now, we're just going to create an assignment. So when I create assignment, I'm just going to name it lesson 1 assignment. And I'm going to leave it indented 1 level so that my students still know it's under Monday. And I'm going to add it. And again, I'm going to drag it back up to go with my lesson. Okay. There's still nothing in there. There's no assignment in there. It is a placeholder at this point. Okay. I think come Friday, we're going to be ready for a quiz though. Because we're going to spend the week working on this. So I think come Friday, we're going to be ready for a quiz. What do you think?
So do you think we're going to do this every day?
I think we might. That's pretty much our process. So
then we could go to these dots. We could just duplicate it, drag it down to Tuesday, and change the name.
So I'm not having to do this for every single day.
Well, it's still a little work, but it's less.
Few less
and then
clicks.
I would just keep doing that until I made the shape. So then come Friday, you said we wanted a quiz. So everything will be the same. I'll just keep duplicating and building it. But nothing's been added yet. We haven't added anything.
All of these pages are still empty.
Building it. So okay, so what do you want me to do next?
Up there with that plus, I'm going to add a quiz this time. So instead of assignment, I want a quiz. And I'm going to create a quiz. And I'm just going to call it week 1 quiz. Make sure they know things like what do they need from my class and where can they find help if they need it. Now you have set up for standards-based grading where you're from. So you guys only have.
We're moving in that direction.
Okay. So you only have those 2 categories, formative and summative. In other districts, you might have like homework, classwork type assignments. You might have quizzes. You might have tests. So we're going to look at assignment groups next week, right? Or today? I can't.
We could try
We'll
to
talk
hit it
about
today. I think it's appropriate. We didn't plan for it, so we can wing it.
We're totally fine. Okay, and I'm just going to add it to my module. So all these is like when you're sitting there with your plan book and you've got, I don't know if you're a sticky note person. I'm a sticky note person. And I'll have Monday through Friday, and I'll have, this is our lesson. This is my formative assessment. This is my, my exit ticket. And then I just do it all with sticky notes so that I can move them around when I decide to change how things are. Okay, that's all this is. These are placeholders right now.
Now,
but say this is my.
Oh, hang on. So when you're done, I kind of want to show them what a module that is all set would look like. So I'm just going to go to a course that I already have done. And you can see this is my unit 1. Now, I didn't use days, I used lessons, but you can see I have a text header, I have a page. I know it's a page because there's no little pencil on it. I have an assignment, and I have a quiz. And then I have another text header. So I've planned it all out. Before I've put anything in, I know the shape of my week. So heading back, what are we going to do next?
So I tend to follow, I won't say 100%, but generally I tend to follow the same kind of schedule throughout each week, don't you?
I do.
Or we start lessons on Monday, especially I know in elementary school they do a lot of, start it on Monday, assess on it on Friday. So do I have to do this every week? Because I'm gonna get kind of tired of doing this for every week.
You don't. Do you remember when I showed you how to duplicate the page from Monday and Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
We can actually duplicate a whole module by going to the 3 dots. Unfortunately, if I go click that right now, I don't see a duplicate. Do you know why that is?
Why?
Because the quizzes can't be duplicated. Quizzes are the only thing in Canvas that can't be duplicated. And the reason they can't be duplicated is because they're quiz questions. So if you made the same quiz again, it wouldn't know which question to pull from. So once you have your whole shape ready to go, let's say you have a whole week and you're like, this is my beautiful week. I'm going to use this every time. We'll just go ahead and quickly add another module, call it quiz. It's not going to be a permanent module. It's just going to be a holding place. It'll go right on the bottom.
For now.
And then I take this quiz. I'm going to pull it down. So yes, I'm going to do that. There we go. So now if I don't have
I can duplicate it
in it, now I can duplicate the whole shape because I've created the whole shape of week 1 and it's perfect. And I'm like, this is going to be my plan every week. There's going to be different stuff in it, but it's the same shape. And the students are going to start learning the shape and they're going to start feeling comfortable because we do the same kind of thing every week. So I'm going to duplicate it and it's down here. And we're just going to edit the name and we're going to call it week 2. And then I know there's 9 weeks in my course. So I'll just duplicate it again for week 3, week 4, week 5. I'm going to do all the way to week 9. My Canvas shell is completely done. There's nothing in it yet, but that's okay because I have the framework. It's built. Okay. So now we have 9 weeks. We have it all set up, ready to go. Now we have to start dumping some stuff in there. So we're going to start with pages. Now, remember we said pages were for information you want to give, but you don't want to bring anything back. It's not an assignment. They're not turning anything in. It's your teaching. Now, this is going to look very different in an online class versus a hybrid class. I see my students every day. This page is not as an important page, but when I have students who are absent, I know I already have a handful of students that are quarantined, so they're out, and I need to make sure I can provide instruction for them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this page. And as you can see, it's called Monday lesson, but it's completely blank. Now I'm going to start adding content for the day. And to do that, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click Edit. When I click Edit, we're going to get something called the Rich Context Editor, which is this thing right here. And you can click through and it's got lots of options and different things you can do. You can even make the window bigger by hitting these, is there 8 dots and pulling it down. So I'm going to start creating. And truthfully, I've probably already done this in a Google Doc because the Rich Context Editor isn't quite as friendly as a Google Doc, but I'm going to start my page with a header. Rather than just changing the font so it's bigger, I'm going to come up here to these types and I'm going to pick heading 2. Now these are called HTML tags. HTML is the language behind any website. And the reason why we're using these tags rather than just making the font bigger is because you need to work on a class that is ADA approved, which means if a student has low vision, they can actually get through it with a screen reader. So when a screen reader reads this and they know it's a heading, they'll know to announce it as a heading. Whereas if I just change the font, it wouldn't know the difference. So I'm going to go ahead and start with welcome to class. Now that probably wouldn't be an actual header, but now when I hit enter, you're going to see heading goes back to paragraph, and paragraph is going to be the normal
A regular font.
Right. So then I'm going to type up some information my kids need. I really don't know what that is right now, but okay. So welcome to Computer Science Principles, the first lesson about getting students excited for the course. Okay. I'm starting to build a page. I've got a header. I've got some information. Now, wouldn't it be great if I added a picture? So let's talk about adding pictures. Now, I will tell you, pictures are not as friendly inside Canvas as they are in other places. You kind of just want to put the picture where you want it. Modifying it later is pretty challenging. But I want a picture here because it's going to make my picture more, or my thing more dynamic. In fact, let's put it at the top. I want it like a banner. So we're going to come up here, and this little symbol is images. So I'm going to click it to the down. And I got some options. I can either choose upload an image from my computer. Course images, that's another strategy. We have a button called files over here, and you can actually, if you know what you're going to use in your course as far as pictures and icons and documents, you can actually drop them all in before you even get started.
And then they're a little easier to work with.
I bring them in as I go. What do you do, Jenna?
I tend to preload them, but that's just because, like, I know one professor I know that uses preset icons for everything in their course, so they preload them and they just use that way they're already there. They don't have to go try to find them on their hard drive and worry about them being in there multiple times and taking up space. They can just drop it right in.
You actually have a gift today. I'm going to be dropping a folder of icons in the chat for people to use. So yeah, nice. Good idea. Good idea. Okay, so we're going to go to upload, pretending that we didn't preload them, but I don't have anything on my computer, so I'm going to go to Unsplash. Remember, Unsplash is free,
but also Creative Commons licenses.
Ooh, I like this one. Okay, so
I like the colors.
And then submit. Oh, I love it. I'm going to make it a little smaller.
But it's so big.
So I'm going to drag the corner down. Oh, still a little too big here. Okay, so shrinking it and making it bigger is easy. Trying to drag it around the page isn't. But we're going to talk about more image options. Jenna, take it from here.
Okay, so if I click on my image options right there, once I've selected my picture, that little button will pop up. Go ahead and click that. Now, Here's the really nice thing about using Unsplash. Most of the time, I'd say the overwhelming majority of it, there is already alt text in there for it. So this one tells me a MacBook Pro on a white surface. And you're like, well, I can see that. And my answer to you is not everybody can. Alt text is what a screen reader is going to read to a student who uses one. So again, student with low vision, student who's, can't interact with things the same way. So when it's trying to read across the screen for that student or that user, it's not going to say a picture. It's going to say image of MacBook Pro on a white surface. Okay. It tells them what they're not able to see. It tells them what the computer is rendering when they can't see it. Okay. You can change the size down there at the bottom. So if it's really, really big and you don't want to deal with trying to drag it down, or you can't find those little corner squares, you can change it. It'll make life a little easier for some folks. You do have the option, one thing I should mention is decorative image up there at the top under the alt text. If something is just there to be pretty and it doesn't matter, you can mark it as decorative image. If it's like with the Bitmojis, if you've got a really pretty scrolly swirls at the top, it's decorative. You don't need that red. And it'll tell students that, hey, there's a decorative image here, but they don't need to worry about what it is.
Here, let me go through one right now that would be decorative. So let's say I want an icon in front of my header. This is very common. Putting icons in Canvas is a very common thing to do. We're going to look at commons later, and you're going to see most templates that people use have icons. If I wanted to put an icon in there, I would go to upload image, and then I have these on my computer. So I'm going to go to my drive, which I had them all set up, and I'm going to drag an icon over. See, I just drug it from my computer, you can see, and I'm going to drop it. I'm going to hit submit. And now I have an icon. So when she was talking about decorative text, when I go in there and image options, this says chess. I don't want to change this. This is not appropriate. This is not ADA friendly. You don't want to have your alt text the same as your PNG file name. So I'm going to take that out. Whoops, my bad. Edit undo.
That's the nice thing too, is you can undo anything. If you don't like it, undo it.
And I'm just going to click decorative image. So the screen reader will know there's just a decorative image here. And these icons and a few others, I'm going to give you guys as a folder, access to a folder, so you can duplicate them onto your screen and you can have icons in front there. Icons are harder to find than I thought they were.
They are. Now, I will say this about icons. If you're using them to specifically identify what a page is, if you're going to use all of your assignments, for example, everything's going to be a grade. Say you're going to put an icon that has a check, because that's what I do with my students. If your kids need to know that that is a check mark, please do not mark it as decorative. It's giving them information that they need. So you can make the alt text say, this check means graded assignment or something along those lines, so that your students know what it is. If it's just there to be cute, or it's there to, something like that, you can mark it as decorative. But if it serves a purpose, label it in your alt text.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go through a couple things. Now, like I said, some of us like to do all of our stuff in Word, or maybe you already have a slide deck ready to go. You don't want to do any planning. You're in person, Canvas is your backup, and you're just like, I already have the slide decks for this class. Let's just drop it in. We're going to show you how to drop in a slide deck. So I have a slide deck ready to go. So here's my slide deck. This is my Unit 1 from code.org. Thank you, code.org. I appreciate you. And I want to drop this slide deck into Canvas. Totally able to do it, but it's going to take a few steps. First of all, we're going to go to File, and we have to go down to Publish to the Web. So we're going to click that button, and we actually need to publish it. Now, don't be afraid of publishing. That's a very intimidating word right there. It doesn't mean much. It just means it's searchable on the web, and I'm totally okay with that. So I published it to the web, and then I'm going to go to this tab called Embed. This is what we call embed code. And if you ever get the opportunity to take an HTML and CSS class, I would strongly recommend it. It's not a very hard class, and it just teaches you so much about what's going on when you embed. You'll actually be much better at Canvas when you do it. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to hit my Command C or my Control C or whatever you got, Mac, PC, whatever. And I'm going to head over to Canvas. Now I have my cursor right here. And now I'm going to look for a cute little cloud.
But I don't see a cloud.
So then it must be in these 3 vertical dots. Whenever I see 3 vertical dots, whether it's in Google or Canvas or anything, it means more. It means come explore me. I've got more options. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my 3 dots. And do you see a little cloud now?
I do see my cloud now.
Right there. So whenever I have
that's
anything
my embed, it says.
Yes, that's where you're going to put embed code. So you're going to click the little cloud, and I'm going to take that code and I'm going to Control V or Apple V or whatever you guys do in Mac. I'm not a Mac person. And you're going to hit submit. Okay, so it's in there. You kind of can't see it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now we're going to talk about this word save and publish, but not yet. So we're just going to hit save. And now this is how my slide deck appears. You guys, do you know how much information I just put in there by putting a slide deck in there? Oh, I hate how it scrolls like that. Oh, there we go. Okay. And I can scroll through my slide deck right inside Canvas. Isn't that amazing?
So my kids don't get lost going somewhere else and then trying to come back.
Right. So that's all the information.
Bless their hearts, they get lost.
So when they're absent, they can just go through the slide deck. Oh, it's so wonderful. Now there's another way to do it too. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go back to edit, and I'm going to show you how to kind of do the same thing with a doc, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. Okay. So let's say oops, that's not what I want to do. You know what? I'm just going to delete this guy. If I get the opportunity to. Sorry, I'm cheating. Don't pay attention to me. Okay. So now let's say I have my whole presentation and my notes on a PDF or a Word doc. So I have a Word doc here, and I'm going to go ahead. I do have to download this to my machine to do this, because now we're not embedding. We could embed just like we did before, but now I'm going to show you how to actually upload a doc. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. There we go. Sure, we'll do it as a Word. PDF would be good too, though. PDFs work great. So now you can see I have it right down here on the bottom of my screen. And oh, I love this one. This is so fun. So you're going to go over to this icon right here. It looks like a little piece of paper. It's called Documents. And you're going to upload a document. And now, because it's right here, I can just grab it and drag it up. And there we go. So we're going to go ahead and hit submit. And oh, that's boring. It's just a link. I don't care. That's not fun. Well, if I hover over and click it, I got some options, just like I had with the images. So I'm going to do the link options, and I'm going to say preview inline. And I'm going to expand by default. Oh, and then for the text, I'm just actually going to take that part off. And the reason I'll take that part off is for the alt readers, because you don't really want your alt text and your
file name
to be the same. Okay, so now when I hit save, now this takes a minute. Oh, it worked the first time. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work the first time and you have to hit refresh a couple times because it's thinking. I have a preview of that whole page, and this works with PDFs too. So if you're a math teacher and you have notes that you want, you can just take a picture of them and the kids can see them right in the page. So we got options. We can type out our information. We can put it in a slide deck. We can put it in a Word doc. We can put it in a PDF. We can take the stuff we already have that we've already created and plop it in.
Oh, do not try to recreate the wheel. You've put time and energy into creating the things that you have. You don't have to recreate everything.
And remember that little cloud? Because it was a Google Doc, I could have done the same thing with that too. There's more than one way to do it. And if you can't remember how to do it, I'm pretty sure we have a video about that. But I think it's actually next week. I think the embed video got on next week, and we just got ahead of ourselves because I was just so excited. Now we're going to go back to modules. Okay, so I'm going to click back on modules. Now this page has some content. We're starting to build some stuff. Now we're going to talk about assignments, and assignments are going to take us a little bit longer. I'm going to wait till the categories until we have a couple of them so we can show them how to put them in different categories. So here's the assignment. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And it's empty, as you would think it would be, because all we did was create an assignment. We didn't put anything in it. So I'm going to go up here to edit.
Still just a placeholder.
It's still just a placeholder. There's a couple really good ways to do assignments. First of all, it's good to be consistent. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what my directions look like every single time. So I just copied and pasted over from another page. So, and I like to put a line right in here. So I hit enter. I'm going to get rid of that number. Okay. And I like to insert vertical lines because they look pretty. It's really easy to do that. If you go to insert, horizontal line. Horizontal lines are really helpful. They make things lovely. And then I like to do a header. And I like icons. I think I already told you guys that.
Just a little.
So, okay, it's an assignment, right? What would be a good one for an assignment?
I usually stick with the check mark. That way students know it's a grade. Do you have any check marks?
I don't think I have a check mark. How about this one? Like I said, I have this folder for you guys. I'm going to provide some icons for you. And then I'm going to say directions. And then down here, for information, there's more Canvas tools. I like to put an icon right there too.
For help.
For help. And so a tool is usually a good one on this one. And then remember how you were talking about making sure that they're all in line? Mm-hmm. Or so you uploaded them to your files. Mm-hmm. If they're already there, it's pretty easy. So just going to go make sure I mark decorative text. It's got to be ADA compliant if you can.
Now, the other thing is with that Canvas tutorial link down at the bottom, we call those, don't laugh at me, naked links. And the problem with those kind of things is screen readers read that as https://community.canvas. It means absolutely nothing to a student with a screen reader. So rather than leaving that naked link, I'm going to go into the text and I'm going to tell it what the page is called. So submitting assignments or docs or whatever it might be. Oh, we might have lost it. So I go to link options and I'm just going to change that text to say, submitting assignments. And in parentheses, I usually put, Canvas help or, wherever you're linking it to, so that someone hearing it, I should say, from a screen reader knows what it is and where it's from.
I just learned something. Thank you. Because I'm going to go fix that.
Don't like naked links.
I'm gonna go back because that's all of my stuff. So I think I'm gonna fix that. Thanks, Jenna. You so helped. Okay, so we have a template, so the assignments always look the same, but I don't always want them to do the same thing. Okay, so there's a couple options. One of my favorite ways, and some people don't agree with me, and you don't have to agree with me, and you don't have to do it my way. I love to force copies. This is how you're going to do it. You may not even know what that means. I'm going to teach you right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the part I want to link. let's say this is a Word doc or a worksheet. I know worksheets don't build dendrites. I just want something for them to put their information on. We're going to come up here and click link. So now the text is chapter 1 blown to bits, but I'm going to link it to a worksheet. And this worksheet has nothing to do with blown to bits because I didn't bring that one up. We're going to go to a doc. So here's an
Just a
activity
regular
guide.
doc.
And I'm going to go to, I need to make a copy because this one isn't mine. I closed the wrong one. My bad. No problem. We got this. Okay, so now this one belongs to me. So I'm going to come up here to share, and I need to make sure anyone on the internet can view this link. Now you might have it set so anyone in your school district can view this link. I like to do anyone on the internet because I share my stuff. Whenever I create something, I want other teachers all around the country to use it because they've helped me out so much and I want to help them out. So I say anyone on the internet can view, not edit, view. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the link. And then I'm going to go back to Canvas. So I'm going to put that in there. But now if I just leave it like this, they'll get straight to that assignment. I don't want to do that. I want them to get a copy of that assignment. So we're going to do something called forcing a copy. And you got to look really close at the edit. Edit is what I don't want them to do. So I'm going to highlight everything from edit back and get rid of it and replace it with one word, copy. And that's called forcing a copy. And then you click done. By the way, there's so many shortcut tips like that in Google. It's amazing. So now if I were to go hit save, and we'll come back to all those other options in a minute, and my students click on it, it makes them force a copy of the assignment. And now they'll own that copy and they can edit it all up. And that's the assignment they can turn back in. So that's called forcing a copy. And that's the one I do the most. But let's go ahead and look at some of these other options. You got to give it a point value. Now, 0 might actually be the point value if you don't want it worth anything, if you just want to do a check or something. But for me, these are formative. In my district, formative is now only 10% of their grade. So I just make all the formatives the same. It's just a check for understanding. And I make sure it's in the right grade group. We haven't shown you how to make grade groups yet. You could actually make one right now. Right now, as you're in it, if you're like, this is going to be assignments, you can come down here and make one called assignments. If it's going to be called daily checks, you can come right down here and make it called daily checks. And then it's going to be as points, not as percentages or anything else. But this is where you could do standard-based grading, which is awesome.
Now, there's one thing to know about that complete and complete. Can you show us that display grade dialog? So if I set it as complete and complete, I don't care if they submit it and it's blank, because I know we all had a lot of problems with that last year. If they submit it and it's blank, it doesn't care. They submitted it, they get the points. So just because they hit submit on a blank document, they're going to get 10 points for this. So you do have to be really careful with complete and complete. If you can convince your kids to do the work and try it, that's okay. But that may or may not be the best option depending on your group of students.
What about this checkbox?
So say we do things that are practice, that are extra, that are something that I don't necessarily want to end up in the grade book. I just want to see where we're at. I can keep that from counting by checking this little tick box. And it doesn't count towards the final grade. If you are synced up with your SIS, if you have that grade passback enabled, you'll have another option in here to turn that on if you want an assignment to sync. So say you don't want it to sync, say you don't want it to end up in your PowerSchool gradebook or whatever you use. You will have another checkbox that's not available up here right now because of what Dana's account is.
We're going to look at the gradebook today, but I don't think we're going to get to that today, but I think it's on the next week.
Just so you're not surprised if you all of a sudden, wait a minute, she doesn't have this box. Why do I have this box? So submission type, if I'm doing something in my classroom and my kids are not going to be turning anything into Canvas, this is just a placeholder for me to submit, turn in a grade, because I'm going to walk around and check something. I can hit no submission, and that just means the kids won't upload anything digitally. If it's online, it means I'm going to have some options. They're going to be turning something in. So maybe I want them to type in a text box, or maybe I want them to give me a URL because they created that copy of the assignment and I want them to give it to me. Media recordings, say I want them to upload me a video or a screencast. I love student annotation, and I think, Dana, you're going to talk about that one in just a minute.
That one's going to be next, right? That's new, by the way.
It is, and for all of the teachers that paid for Cami last year, I'm sorry in advance. But file uploads is nice. If I want, say I have my kids working on that doc, and I don't want to go back through Google Doc after Google Doc, I can have them download it as, say, a Word doc or a PDF, and then I can restrict them to uploading one of those two file types so that that's all I see, because those do work really well in SpeedGrader versus doing it as Google Doc, where I have to go into each one independently. And I'll have a trick for you next week on making that a lot easier too.
Good.
But yeah. So for this one, I probably want the website URL, or if I'm going to have them give me multiple URLs, I might want a text entry. So say they had to do this and they had to attach me something else. They had to give me something else. They could give me the URL for multiple things. The website URL will only let you submit one URL. One. So that one doc, if there's nothing else in it, great. If there's something else they've got to turn in with it, you're going to need that text entry box instead, or a file upload.
But remember, for this one, we forced a copy. So what I'm hoping is we can use the Google Drive tool, which we're going to show you once we switch over to Student View. But these options are the two that I typically pick when I'm forcing a copy, because we'll show you what those mean. I will tell you, on paper is the same thing as no submission. I don't know why they have two options. It's the same thing. And then external tools. Oh my gosh, you guys. Canvas has so many amazing external tools. We're not going to touch them today because it's a rabbit hole. We could just go.
We could do an entire session just on the external tools that you can link to Canvas. It's absolutely crazy.
And life gets a little more complicated, so we're just going to nix it for today. We're going to pretend that doesn't exist. We're going to do online submission. And for me, because I forced a copy, I'm going to allow these types of submission. I could restrict file type to just PDFs or whatever, but whatever. I'm not going to do that right now. It's a formative assignment, so they can turn it in as many times as they want. Also, we don't do late penalties for formative assignments. And then I'm going to pick a due date. Now, available until and available from are pretty cool if you're really organized. So available from, when I'm really organized, I make it available the day I'm going to teach it. And then I make it available till the last day I let kids turn things in the quarter, because I don't do late assignments. They can keep turning it in and they can turn it in again. They got a 4 out of 10, do it again. They got a 5 out of 10, do it again. So
but it keeps them from going back and doing it after the quarter's over, and you thinking that there's something else for them to do and having some issues with grade books.
This is really important. If you say, I'm not accepting things after this date, you have to turn this one on. So that one's important. And then this is the due date. So I don't have any grade penalties for late assignments, but if the assignment is late, next to it will be a cute little red oval with the word late in it. And for many of my students, that's punishment enough. And yet it doesn't affect their grade, because we don't like behaviors to affect grades. But that little red oval, that's enough to make them want to get a turn it in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit save for a minute. And so this is what my assignment looks like. And you can see it's 10 points and it's going to be a file upload. And Jenna is going to show you turning that in just a few minutes, but we're going to wait on that because I'm going to go back to modules and I'm going to duplicate the same assignment and I'm going to show you the annotation tool to turn it in. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to duplicate it. So now this is the same exact assignment, but I'm going to show you a different way to do it so you're not forcing a copy. So I'm going to go to edit and I'm going to remove the link because I don't want to force a copy anymore. And then in my options, I am going to uncheck these and do student annotation. Now I do have to upload the file, which means I'm going to have to come up here and download it. So I could do it as a PDF or a Word doc, does not matter. So now it's right down here. I'll go back to Canvas and I will upload the file. And now because it's right down here, oh, nope, look at that. I have to actually check it. Downloads.
But it should be right there in my downloads.
Yep, got it. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and hit save. And now I'm actually going to go publish everything. See that button that said save and publish? I'm actually going to go straight to the module though, because for students to see this, I actually have to go to the module. Now, everything is in this module. When I click this button right here, that says publish, everything's going to have a green check mark on it. Now, I haven't published the course yet. Jenna, on your part, we got to remember to show them that. But now I click that green. Now everything is published, which means any students I have, I can see it as long as my course is published. So I'm just going to go, I'm going to home really quick and publish my course. I think I put right here. Okay, here we go. So I went home and over here, I'm going to click this one and hit publish.
Because even though we have a student, a fake student in the course, they can't see anything. Now, if you look over there on the left-hand side, scroll back up for me, on that course menu, course navigation menu on the left, now modules doesn't have that I with the slash through it because there's content in there for students to see and we've enabled modules for them. So now there's no more I with the slash. We can still see, they can see home, they can see syllabus, modules, and grades. Everything else is blocked out.
Now, I'm going to show you just as an invaluable tool called Student View. When you click this button, you're going to see what the students see. Now, week 1 is the only published module, not even the week 2 or this quiz yet, because we're going to, I think we're going to get to quizzes. All this stuff is that's green check the students will see. So I'm going to click over into Student View. And that's what the student can see. So from here, I'm going to let Jenna take over. Now, Jenna has an actual student enrolled in this course. So we're going to actually be a student and we're going to go through. She's going to show you how to turn in this assignment as an actual student. So Jenna, you're actually going to force a copy. You're good with that, right? And this one's going to be an annotation tool. So cool. And then she's going to come back. Go ahead.
Can we go in those and put a due date on them so we can look at the to-do list real quick? Calendar.
Good call. I'm going to make a due date.
So as long as you put a due date on your assignment, it's going to show up on your students' to-do list. It's going to show up on their Canvas calendar. Okay. And for a lot of our kiddos, this helps them stay organized. So say it's due Tuesday or due today. That works. Okay. And all she's doing is adding a due date. Oh, hold on. That's until. We need a due date. I do that all the time. I oops and put it in the wrong spot.
Everything can be fixed with a few more clicks.
All right. So now you've seen what it looks like in her modules. You've seen what it looks like on the teacher view. Okay. So I'm going to.
Is your screen shared yet? I don't see it. There we go. Okay. So try again. X out and do it again.
That's so weird.
I know.
There we go. So this is my student view, and I'm going to refresh it because she just added some things to my to-do list. So you can see course 2. That's our course. And then off to the side here, I have my to-do list. You can see here's that assignment. And then here, if I can see the 3 dots, tells me it's longer. So that's the other assignment. Okay. So I don't even necessarily have to go into my course to be able to see what I need to be doing. I can see those due dates nice and quick. And look right here. This is where we talked so much in the beginning about those time zones. And everybody's like, it's a time zone. Doesn't really matter that much. Dana is on the other side. She's on Pacific time. I'm over here in Virginia on the Eastern coast. So even though she set them to be the 14th at midnight, that's 3 a.m. my time. So my assignments, I have technically till 3 a.m. Okay, but those assignments are up here. I can see when they're due. And if I'm a person who likes to be organized, which we hope and pray our students are, I can go to my Canvas calendar over here on that global navigation menu, and I have a really nice month-long view of when my things are due, as long as they have due dates. They have to. So it's really important, even if you don't count off for late things, even if you take things up until the end, give it some kind of a due date so that it'll show up on your students' calendars, okay? And I can see them sorted over here by color. I can change those colors if I want, math is purple. I'm a math person. So now I can see they changed to purple. As a teacher, if you need to reschedule something, you can click on that and drag it. But I can click right here on it and see, hey, this is the assignment. I can see the instructions. I can see what I need to do really quick.
Okay, Jenna,
But if I go to my courses,
you just blew my mind, because due dates are one of the most annoying things, because you get 1 day behind and you have to go back and change everything. So you're telling me if I go to calendar view, I can just drag each one day rather than typing in new due dates?
let me drag over my teacher view. So this is my teacher view. See, I've got all my sandboxes and all my other fun stuff. If I go to calendar and I see these assignments you just put up here, I'm gonna just drag this over to Monday because we had a snow day and now I have to move it because not all of my kids have internet because of the storm. I clicked on it, I dragged it. I'm done. Now here's the nice thing. So I'm gonna minimize my teacher view and I'm gonna just refresh my student. And now they're up here on Wednesday. That's all I have to do. Click and drag.
I can't. That's so important. If they get anything from this whole training today, that right there saves you so much time.
So much time. You are not having to go into every single assignment and change the due date. We don't do that. Now, if you do put something up there that doesn't have a date, it would show up here under undated, but it won't show up on the calendar. And for those visual students, they're got nothing because they're not going to remember to come click on undated. I love them. I am that kid. So in my student view, I'm going to come to our course. And this is what it looks like for me. So all I can see is my home, my syllabus, my modules, and my grades. I've got my week 1 module, and I can see all of those pieces that are in it. So I'm going to start with Monday's lesson. And I can see this. I can see my file preview. It does take just a minute to load, but I can see it. And I'm going to scroll through it, and I'm going to read it because we're going to hope they're going to read it. And I'm going to go to the next page. Okay, now here's my assignment.
Don't those icons look nice?
They do, and they give me an idea of, oh, I need help. Oh, this is stuff I need to do. Okay, so I've got my link. I'm going to click on it, and when I do, it says, do you want to make a copy? Well, yeah, I need to make a copy to do my work. Okay, now I have my very own copy that I can put my name on. And I can fill this out and I can type in the boxes and I can do my work. But I'm ready to turn it in. Okay. So I'm going to come grab that share link. I've got it set to anybody in my domain because this is my trainer domain. I'm going to set it to anybody in my domain. For you, that would probably mean your school district. It'll usually say, blah, blah city schools or blah, blah county schools can view it. Now, if you want to be able to leave comments on it, you're going to have to teach your students how to make this comment view. Okay, but if you just want to be able to look at it, you can leave it on view. I like comment because I like to leave my kids little notes. And I'm going to grab that link. And here in my assignment, I can submit a URL or a file upload. So I'm going to start the assignment. I'm going to give it that. I've got the option for the upload. I've got the option for the URL. I could paste it in here, right? But what's this Google Doc option? Oh, look, I can hook my Canvas up to my Google Drive. And this is nice and easy and right there for students. So they only have to do it one time. But now, let me refresh this. And now It wants me to do it again. Sometimes it'll do that. Sometimes you will have to do it more than once. It's weird.
I think it's just a lot of HTML that has to load.
But see, now it's like, oh, here's that copy you made. I can just submit it. Boom. It can take a minute. It warns the kids it can take a minute. But they get this little note up here, assignment successfully submitted. And I'll tell you, I have my app on my phone, so I got a notification because I did not set my notifications right. If you do not want a notification every time, every one of your 120, 150 for our, high school teachers, students submit something, turn off your notifications or set them appropriately.
Well, and that's a push notification. So we didn't even have a chance to look at those because I don't have it on my personal account. I have it on my school account.
But I can see right up here, hey, it's been submitted, the date and the time. I can get a copy of what I uploaded if I need to. But my kids have confirmation that, hey, this has been sent to my teacher, because we had some glitches with that last year. If you are a Canvas admin, or you're possibly going to be a Canvas admin, please turn on the confetti. Please, God, turn on the confetti. Kids deserve it. Teachers deserve it. Fight for the confetti, man. It means when they submit something, there'll be a cute little panda and the confetti will rain down. And if your district doesn't have it and you're not a Canvas admin, bug your Canvas admin. It doesn't cost anything and it's just cute and nice. And I like it.
So that was submitting when you force a copy, the first method I showed, turning in an assignment. But let's go look at the new tool.
So this time it says submitting a student annotation. So I'm going to start my assignment and it's right here. I don't have to go anywhere else for it. I can come right in here with my little pen tool and I can pick a skinny line and I can write right on it.
Zoom in a little bit. Click on the zoom a couple times.
Oh, I can get in bigger. So if you're that person that I am super picky about being able to read things for myself, not necessarily like my kids turning it in. I can use text. I can use the pen. I can do what I need to do. And then when I'm all done, I just have this pretty blue submit button. I'm done.
It was so great. If people used the Google LTI tool, it submits just like the Google LTI tool does. But you can grade it in SpeedGrader, which is what we're going to look at next. We're going to go back to Teacher View, and you're not using an external tool. Like I said, I love external tools, but sometimes it's just easier to use the tools that Canvas provides and not go outside Canvas, because sometimes there's going to be issues when you try to integrate two tools. So let's go to Teacher View.
Sometimes Google goes down and Canvas doesn't. It does happen once in a while. But I've submitted this assignment again. I've got that confirmation that it's submitted and a date and a time. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my Teacher View. Pull my Teacher View back up. And in here. Teacher View. Okay. And now when I go to my dashboard, I can see, hey, I got some stuff to grade. If you've ever lost a student's work, you feel this in your heart and in your soul. I don't have to worry about that now. It's here. If I don't remember if I graded something, it's on my to-do list if I didn't grade it. So I can go right in here to this first assignment and I can see that our, Canvas student 1 submitted it. I can look right here at their work. I can see their name. It'll show me their name up here, but I can say, hey, if you're a teacher that checks name, bell, date, it's there. I can see everything they wrote and I can grade it right here. I don't have to write it down on paper. If you like to write it down on paper, please write it down on paper, but I don't have to. I can grade them 10 out of 10. I can give them that feedback right there. Awesome job. We have a theory at work that you type the worst you're ever going to type while you're live.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I do have a comment library if you're going to be using the same. If you're seeing your kids make the same mistake, you can build a comment library. We're not going to talk about that today. If you use a rubric, that's an external rubric, and you've got it as, say, a Word doc, You can attach that doc file to it. You can leave audio comments. You have all kinds of options, okay? So when I hit submit, that student will get that assignment returned to them. They can see my grades, they can see my comments. Because there's 2 teachers in this course, me and Dana, it'll show who left it. So if you co-teach and you're like, I don't remember grading this, maybe your co-teacher did. Or if you graded it and your co-teacher is grading the resubmission, like Dana said, you take work again and again. If they got a 4 out of 10, you're redoing it. Maybe your co-teacher is the one that graded it, and you can leave a note that says, you needed to look at number 3, number 5, and number 8. They're not regrading the whole paper. It's little things, but it helps keep you from going crazy.
And then there's a new button that came in within the last year for that kid who kept turning the document in blank. Reassign.
Reassign. And all I have to do is click it, and it's reassigned. And now it'll stay off my to-do list until they resubmit it. All right.
And their parents will say, but so-and-so did it. I had to reassign it because it was blank.
Mm-hmm. So let's look what this looks like in my grade book real quick. So I can see, here's that assignment, here's my student, and I see they got a 10. Okay. But I can still see, hey, I need to grade this one. I didn't get that one yet. So I can go from here, I can click on it and go right to it, or I can go back to my dashboard and go to the next thing. Okay. Oh, here's where they submitted it. Let me go to my speed grader and look at it. Now, this is the benefit of Kami being replaced with student annotation. Okay. I can see right here where we wrote all over it. I can say, oh, they did it. It's wonderful. I can technically give extra credit if I want. It'll warn me. If you type something crazy, because I freaked out the first time I did this. I didn't realize I had typed 100 on an assignment that was a 10. And it's like, hey, they just got a really high grade. So it's like, oh, well, maybe I just meant to give them a 10. If you ever want to watch a kid's eyes light up, give them 100 out of 10. It does not go the other way. It will not warn you if you give them a 10 out of 100. But, maybe they only got a 1 because, you need to redo this to complete it and resubmit. Okay. And I can submit it, and then I can reassign it to them. So there's a comment there so that mom, dad, grandma, auntie, whoever sees why it was returned. Okay. But again, when I go look at my grade book, I can see that grade. I can see that 10 out of 10. I can see that 1 out of 10. I can see their grades. Now I'm getting a warning. It's like, hey, score does not include summative because there's nothing in it. So if you see any kind of thing that you don't know what it means, point to it. If nothing pops up, click on it. You can only break so much. I know that sounds so weird to say, but clicking on things generally won't break anything. If you don't know what it means, point to it. So we can see we unpublished that quiz. We can unpublish assignment from where, Dana and I were planning this. So say I don't want to see these things in my gradebook because it's going to get really full really quick. If I come up here to view, I can turn off unpublished assignments, and it just makes things a little easier on my eyeballs. Okay. If you are going to meet with a student or you are going to meet with a parent and you want to show just that student's grades, I can go to my individual view, or I can click on the student and I can pull up their grades. Okay. That way I see what they've got. I can put this up on the screen while we're having, a Zoom or an in-person meeting, and we can talk about each thing. But then I'm not showing them everybody's grade because that's a FERPA violation and we don't want to go there.
So
but
Dana,
I can see. Go ahead.
We had a question in the chat, which is actually going to deviate from our plan just a little bit. Denise wants to know, is this where we can upload, is the sandbox where we can upload subplans and create them? Yes and no. I mean, you can always create things in the sandbox and move it in, but
nobody else can see it but you.
You need to get it into your actual published course, which is possible. And we can we can actually do that. Let's plan on doing that at the end, because I haven't done it yet, and I can show you how to do it live. I just completed my emergency sub plans, and I was going to actually put them into my course on Monday, so we can actually go through that. So let's go ahead. We're still going to finish up quizzes today, right? We're going to look at a quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
We're going to look at a quiz and a discussion. Yep.
And then we want to go to assignments and look at the categories. And then we were planning to go till 10. So we can either, I think we have time. Let's try to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one thing up here is we're going to talk about assignment groups is I can sort it by assignment group. So if I want to look at all of their, all of their formatives or all of their summatives, if you come from a district like I've generally worked in, we had 3. We had classwork, homework, quizzes, and tests. So let's talk about how I get those. So if I go to assignments, I have my groups, and Dana uses formative and summative where they are, over there. But say I need to add one. Okay, say I want to practice, I can have classwork, homework, and say I want it to be 10% of the grade. Now it's going to let me do that, even though hers are already here. I can see 90, 10, and 10, and that doesn't add up to 100.
But it's going to let you do it anyway.
It's going to let you do it anyways. You're just going to have some really wonky math. But say I did that and I went, I meant to make this 80. I can change my assignment group's weight. And like right now it's telling me it's out of 110%. So I can change this to 80. And now I see it adds up right. But I can make my groups whatever I want them. So if you want a group that's just your warm-ups and they're, total, all of your warm-ups are 10% of your grade, you can do that. If you want tests to be 25%, you can make them whatever you want them to be. You just come in here and add a group. That's all you're doing. Adding a group, giving it a name, essays are 25% of your grade because maybe it's a writing course. Again, it's going to let me make it more than 100, but I can change those numbers. Okay, and make it add up to 100%. Okay, if you do a total points thing, it's going to look a little different. But say this was a quiz, and I decided that I don't want it to be a quiz anymore. I want it to be a homework assignment. I can move it down to another category. I can change things. Oh, this was our big assignment. I'm going to make this thing our summative. I can drag it down into the box and add it.
And your grade will recalculate everything for you.
Mm-hmm. You might freak your kids out if you move something that was, a classwork assignment and all of a sudden make it a test grade. I don't know if you ever had any of those teachers back in the day, Dana. Everybody was bad for the sub. So that classwork assignment the day I was out is now a test grade. But that's a good way to freak your kids out. I did that once just to scare them, and then I moved it back. Okay, but I can add my assignments right in here. If I need to make a new assignment, I can create it right in here. If I want, make all my assignments for the week, I can make them in my modules. You have options, okay? So let's talk about giving quizzes because we need to give quizzes. And whatever you call them, we need to give quizzes. So we've got the placeholder quiz we made, but there's nothing in it. It's not published. There's nothing in it. So if I go in here and look at my quiz, again, it's not published. I could preview it, but there's nothing in it right now. So I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to tell Canvas what I want it to do. Okay, so I'm going to give my kids instructions because I love them, but they don't necessarily remember, this is a closed book, closed notes quiz.
Now, Jenna, let's go ahead and warn people. There is a discrepancy in quizzes right now. In Canvas, there's 2 types of quizzes. We are using the free account. Right now, the only thing the free account can do is classic quizzes, which is what Jenna is doing. Classic quizzes are going away. In about 1 year, they're going to go to something called new quizzes. For some of you, your only option is going to be new quizzes. So things are going to look a little bit different. And unfortunately, because of this being the free version, we can't show you the new quizzes, which is so funny because 2 weeks ago, when I started planning my presentation, the only thing I could choose was
new quizzes.
New quizzes. So something's going on in Canvas and they're working on some of the HTML and the coding in the background, and things are changing. So we're going to give you a basic overview of quizzes, but we apologize in advance if when you get to your Canvas shell, all you have is the concept of new quizzes. New quizzes is an excellent tool. I don't find it complicated. And
It's got
much
lots
more
of fun
question
extras.
items. Yes, it got
I
extras.
was trying to see if it does not. Okay. So I give my kids my instructions notes, closed notes, closed book. If you give open notes, you know what I'm saying. And your basic instructions you would find at the top of your quiz. Okay. It's a graded quiz. I can give a practice quiz. I can give graded surveys and ungraded surveys. I have lots of options here. Graded surveys generally, I want information from my kids, but I want to make sure they do it. So it's kind of like a complete and incomplete grade. But if it's a regular quiz, I'm going to make it graded. And I'm going to put it in I can have formative, summative, classwork, homework, and essays because those are the categories I made. So I would put quizzes usually as a formative. Okay. I can shuffle the answer choices. I can give them a time limit. I am not a believer in time limits because when I taught K-12, I taught special ed, primarily inclusion.
I am a fan of time limits. And let me tell you why. Sometimes you will have a quiz that gets started, and then someone will decide to go out to dinner. And then they will come back, and their quiz is still open, and they'll forget about it. And if you'll go into it, you'll find the time is on 24 hours and 36 minutes, and you'll be like, what's going on? So I do put a time limit. I always put a time limit, but it's an extended time limit. Like if it's a 15-minute quiz, it'll be an hour. But I just want to let them know they can't start it, go out to
and
dinner
wander
with
off.
Right.
So if you give it a time limit, say an hour, it is in minutes. So do watch that. That is a trick. I can allow multiple attempts. So say I want to keep the highest score and keep whatever one's the last one. I can take an average so you don't have kids taking it 5, 6, 7, 8 times just to get the high score. I can give a maximum allowed attempts. Say I want to let them take it twice and I keep whichever one's higher. Okay. I have options here. I can choose what they get to see. Say they get to see their responses only after the last one. After each time, let them see their correct answers. I tend to let them see at least which ones they got wrong. I always let them see which ones they got wrong so they don't go back and try to fix answers that were right in the first place. I can make it to where they can see the right answers at a certain time, but they go away after, a day. I have options here. Okay.
Yeah.
Some people like to show. Oh, go ahead.
For those districts who do require allowing retakes, there is a way to only allow one attempt, but then later inside the grade book, you can give a particular student. So let's say the student did their corrections and they justify that they're ready to take it again. You can give just that student an extra attempt. So you don't have to worry about that. Those policies, there is ways to work around them for just that particular student.
And there is, like I said, I taught inclusion. So I did things, my way. It was in line with what my district had. But you can give just that one student an extra chance. Say their internet went out and it's submitted and they're, freaking out. You can give them just one extra chance. Okay. But again, if I want to show up on my calendar, I need to give it a due date.
If you don't give it a time, it will default to 11:59 p.m.
Now, again, right here, course time is different than my local time because of my time zone settings. Now, I'm going to skip publishing it later. I'm just going to save and publish because I'm ready with it. But wait, am I really? Because what did I not put in it? I gave them instructions. What didn't I give them?
Questions.
I didn't give them any questions. So I use my questions tab and I just create a question. What color is the sky? Obviously, these are not questions I would actually give my kids.
Sure they are.
I have my correct answer. I have some, weird answers. Okay. I can give it point values. I have
All right.
different options for my questions.
So right now you're on multiple choice. Matching is one of my favorite.
Matching is multiple drop downs. Anything with drop downs can get a little weird.
Especially in the grading.
Yes.
Multiple choice are
Also in
really the
setting
easiest
up.
to grade. They will grade
Multiple choice,
themselves.
true, false. Formula questions are kind of weird. Text has no question, the kids just have to write an answer. You have essay questions for our English friends. But I've put in my question. I'm going to update the question. I cannot tell you how many times I forgot to hit update question and wondered why nothing happened, or when I didn't hit save. We tell you these things because we've done them more than our share of times. I do like question groups, so I can create a question bank off it in the quizzes section. That if I come up here to the three dots, remember it's always more options, I can make a question bank. So if you really like, spiraling on your tests, on your assessments, say we're going to have, 20 questions on this test. I want at least 4 or 5 of them maybe to be on prior material. I can make question banks by, say, strand. So A.2, and I can put questions in it. And then when I come over here to make my quiz, I can add things from my A.2 question bank. Say I want, I don't know, 2 random questions out of that question bank, and they're going to be, 4 points apiece. Okay. And I create that group. I'm getting a warning now because there's no questions in my bank, in that particular bank. But my quiz will now have these current questions that I've added, and it's going to pick 2 questions out of this A.2 bank so that my kids are getting a spiral review. Okay. You don't have to add those questions to your current tests. And, when you're creating it, you can just pull out of that old bank. Okay. And I'm going to save it. And now when I preview my quiz, I'll see my one question. Obviously, it can't pull those ones from the bank because I didn't put anything in the bank, but I can answer it and submit it. And obviously, this is me previewing it, so it won't show up in my grade book. Okay. And then my very last piece is my discussions. So you can have discussions that are graded. You can have discussions that aren't graded. It all depends on what you want to do with them. If you want to have a place where, I know when I was an undergrad with discussions, we had, the cafe where people could ask questions and get help, not necessarily from the teacher. The teacher monitored it, but not, heavily. So pin discussions maybe are your, how to get help. These are your resources. And then down here, I can add a discussion. Okay. I can have, here's a place where we can talk about things. I may only want to limit it to certain sections. So for example, and this is a big problem that a lot of people don't think about. If you have cross-listed courses, you'd never ever want to let I'll make it up, your first block see who's in your third block. It's a FERPA violation. It's not good news. So say I want to have a discussion board just for my first block class, and I want to have a separate one for my third block class. If you have multiple sections in there, you could pick just a particular section. In different sections would be in here. Okay. And I would just say, coffee chat. I would remember to put 2 E's in coffee. Threaded replies means that if I put, if a kid posts something, somebody can reply to it and it stays in the thread. If you're going to do it where you want kids to post their own thoughts before you send them loose to see what others have posted so that they don't get the answer from somebody else, you can make it to where they have to post first. Podcast feed, a lot of people don't like. It can get weird because of the way this is set up. Usually you can grade a discussion board. This one you can't because of where I'm at. You can allow students to like it, posts and comments and stuff. So say something helped them. And then you can add it to the student to do. So maybe if it's a discussion that's, you want them to specifically come comment on that they've understood, they've read the syllabus. That's a good one to do. You can put them in groups. Again, this is grayed out because of how we've got things set. But say I only want this one to be available for this particular week. Say this is a syllabus acknowledgement, and maybe it goes away after a week. Okay. And I'm just going to save it and publish it. And it shows up here, and it only goes to that one section. So the only people that can see it right now, like see, it says 3 users are me and Dana, because we're the teachers, and then that mock student that we created. Okay.
So a typical thing in discussions when you're grading them is to say you have to do an original reply, and then you have to respond to 2 other students. I'm just going to warn you, when you're doing speed grader, the original response will show up, but if the students add replies later, it will not get added to your to-do list. So I tend to wait to grade discussions till the end so students have had a chance to reply to their neighbors. And I'm just giving you a 10-minute warning. We're getting ready to close her down. Do we want to go over importing a course?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'll go ahead and add mine to the stream. All right. So I just finished an emergency lesson plan here. So we're going to go in here, just take a quick look at it just so you can see it. I teach computer science, and there's this awesome Creative Commons book called Blown to Bits, and it teaches you all the good stuff about computer science, and it's fantastic. So I created an emergency subplan. Now the problem is, if it's truly an emergency, I'm not going to have the opportunity to publish it in the morning. So either I need to make sure that the Canvas controller at my school knows how to access my course, but that might even be a little complicated because if they're looking for subs in the morning, they might not have it. So what I plan to do is I plan to train my students. There's a published module at the bottom of our course. Please don't touch it unless directed to do so. And hopefully they're going to respect me on that. Maybe you know your students best. Maybe that's not practical. Maybe you need a buddy teacher in case you're emergency. But anyway, so here's my emergency lesson plan. It's 1 module. So I'm going to take this module and I'm going to put it into my course. So I'm going to start on the dashboard. And this is course 2. This is the course we've been working in today. And this is the one I'm going to pull my emergency lesson plan into. So I'm going to go ahead and enter the course I want to pull it into. So now course 2 is showing, and it says import existing content. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to import the module from my emergency lesson plan course into this module. And when I do that, it's going to go at the very bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import existing content. And I'm going to select copy a Canvas course because I'm copying it from one of my own. So then I need to go search for the course that I have, and it's emergency lesson plan. So I want to copy a Canvas course from emergency lesson plans. And I'm not going to pick all the content. I'm going to pick select content, even though it is all the content. And this is important. The reason why is when you pick all content, it overwrites some of the other content you had in there. And then if it has due dates, I just always remove all the due dates. So I'm going to select.
It's also really nice when you go semester to semester. So if you teach the same thing first semester as you do second semester, it's very helpful.
And sometimes shifting them is good enough. But I like to start fresh. So we're going to go ahead and import. So again, we copied a Canvas course. We're taking in the emergency lesson plan, selecting specific content, taking out the due dates. And then I'm going to click import. And now it's waiting for me to select what I want to import. And I want to import a module. And the module is called emergency lesson plan. If I had lots of modules, you would see them all here. And I would just select the one I wanted. But I only have one module in there. So I've selected it. And I hit select content. And now it's queued and it's thinking and it's thinking and it's thinking. And it's thinking and it's thinking, and you got to give it a little time. It shouldn't take too long because it's not very big. But if it's a whole course, sometimes it can take like 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, and it's complete. So now when I go home or to modules, I have the module I had, but at the bottom,
You have that emergency lesson plans. Now, you're going to hate me. I have a trick for that. So check this out. So I'm in my teacher view and I'm in our course. And this is that week 1 module we created, right? So I'm going to come up here to those 3 dots because they're my best friend. And I'm going to copy too. And I'm going to find my sandbox course. And I'm just going to copy it in.
And the only problem with that is it doesn't bring the images with it. So if you have a bunch of icons, you're going to have to make sure those files are inside the files.
If you've uploaded them to your file, they will come over. And that's different sometimes in the way that, you know, different users use it. But it's just a little easier. So now when I go to that sandbox course, and there's other stuff in here because it's something I was working on for someone. But if I come down here to the bottom, here's that week 1 module. All in order, all pretty. Again, if you use the icons for this one to work, you've got to use it with the other stuff, with the adding them to your. But yeah,
5 minutes. So Jenna, I want you to show them that awesome template teaching course to bring in.
So there is a lovely lady in North Carolina. Her name is Miss Keith, and she is absolutely incredible. And if you are just getting started with Canvas, she has an amazing template, and I'm going to create a new course just to show you how I'm going to do it. So, and I'll call it, okay, this is just for me to have a place to put it. Again, I have a ton of courses down here. It's all okay. So I'm going to import from the Commons. Let me make this a little bigger for y'all. I'm going to import from the Commons. Okay. Okay. And I just type what I'm looking for. So Keith BCS. And this is hers. This is from a presentation that she did for her district that she said it's okay for people to share out. And I'm going to click on it. And you can look through it. You can see, you know, in the preview once it loads, but how to make copies of your courses, how to set your settings. So a lot of the things that we've talked about today, how to set up your modules. Some of the things that are assignments like these, even if you import it, will not come over right. That's okay. Setting up item banks, how to use them, those kind of things. So if I want everything, I'm just going to import it. Okay, and I'm going to put it in that course that I made just for hers. If you want to import it into something else, you can do that, into your sandbox, whatever. And I'm going to import it into that course. You've successfully started. It can take a few minutes. Obviously, this is kind of small. It doesn't generally take too long, but it's got really awesome pictures of, they're very guided. You know, click this, click here. This is what it'll look like. Exactly. I could not ask for better graphics on how things are. Okay. So it'll take a few minutes to import, but when I go back to my courses and I go to that course, I can see all those pieces came over, and now I have some really easy guides. If you've forgotten how to do something, or if you need a visual, if you want to have one on one screen and this going, you know, your stuff on the other, you can click through it and it takes you through step by step. And, you know, everything's labeled, everything's easy to find. And the modules will work you through everything, how to set up quizzes when you're happy, how to make it active, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So it's a really great guide. I cannot say how awesome Miss Keith is because she's just incredible. And then I think you had one.
Well, I passed out the icons.
Okay.
I am going to take over for just a minute before we leave today. Oh, that's not what I wanted to show. Next week, I did want to show what we were going to go through next week, and I planned to have it all set up, ready to go, but I didn't. So next week, we plan to go a little bit deeper. we're going to go ahead and dive into Canvas and get into some more of the nitty gritty. We're going to, sorry, I'm still a work in progress here, but we're going to be talking about creating announcements, creating home pages, cross-listing courses. We're going to be doing a little more embedding. We're going to introduce Canvas Studio, and we're going to look at some external tools. So that's what we're going to be doing next week. It really does take a big jump in Canvas skills, but all of them are very useful. Also, if you go into the Commons, I do have a few little things that you can go look at. If you go to Commons and you search my name, I have a little course template module that's pretty helpful. It's not very detailed. It's simple, but sometimes starting with simple works. So if you go in there, you're going to be able to see this is my template, and you have the icons might come over. Sometimes they don't work that well, but you can go through and look at the pages and be like, okay, that looks like an overview template. So we can start to look really professional. Again, a lot of times it's sink or swim with Canvas. I want to be a support if you guys need any of that. If you need to reach out to Jenna or I, or even Kyle, we are more than welcome to help. Jenna, do you have any parting words?
Honestly, just try it. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to freak out. Don't. Anything can be undone. I've had teachers delete whole pages, whole chunks of pages before, and we can get them back. So don't freak out. Make your sandbox. Give it a shot.
Keep a document with all of your questions. Feel free to email us or get us on Twitter, and we can help you through those questions. And if you're ready to go and you're ready to schedule your free interview with a Panda Pro, it's in the slide deck over there. All right. Well, thanks for being with us today, everyone. We finished at 10:01, 1 minute past when we hoped to. That's pretty good. We'll see you guys next week to dive in deeper, and we hope you guys have a great day. Do we have the extra ready to go?
Yep.
Outro.
Bye.